Good morning. Now it's been 8 weeks since the end of the regular legislative session. We still have no budget. We have no reforms. And this is the first week that the House is back in session meeting, and the first week that they've taken a pay hike for themselves without a budget and without any real reforms. And now Speaker Madigan refuses to discuss why they've taken a pay hike. I want to compliment and thank Leader Durkin and Leader Radonio for fighting against the pay hike. I tried to block it, failed. Speaker Madigan should discuss why he took a pay hike with no budget and no reforms. The reality is he's avoiding the issue because this is so symptomatic, such a symbol of what's wrong with our government. It's protecting and promoting the interests of the political class at the expense of the middle class. This is what has to change in our state government. If they're going to take a $1,300 pay increase for themselves for part-time work, they should start earning that pay hike by meeting with us and getting reforms to our government so we can grow our economy, get value for taxpayers, and get a truly constitutional balanced budget. I'm calling on the Speaker, calling on the legislature to come together. Let's work on our bills. We've introduced 6 bills that are compromise bills that reflect the negotiations that we've had with the General Assembly for months now. The 6 bills are good bipartisan reforms. Many members of the General Assembly agree with them, and they reflect the interest and the feedback from President Cullerton and many members of his caucus. Term limits, good bipartisan reform. Redistricting reform, good bipartisan reform. And this will get people into the state government who are there for the right reasons and who will take tough decisions reflecting the interest of their constituents, not the Chicago political machine. Good, important bipartisan reforms that can help drive balanced budgets in the future. We've also got to grow our economy as our top priority, because we'll never have balanced budgets unless we are a growing economy. That's why we need tort reform and workers' comp reform that is true and comprehensive. Speaker Madigan has refused to deal with it because his supporters, his donors in the trial lawyer lobby, don't want reforms there. They don't want an honest system in workers' comp. They make too much money from the current broken workers' comp system. This is good bipartisan reform. It's good for our economy. It'll grow jobs. And then on the fundamental issue, our biggest problem is our real estate taxes. They're the highest in America, along with New Jersey. We need true freeze in property taxes, a true freeze, along with true local control of competitive bidding and contracting in local governments. Bipartisan reform, other states have done it, we can do it here. And then our final bill, recently introduced, is pension reform, true pension reform that is constitutional. We have worked hard with both sides of the General Assembly and with the lawyers to make sure that the ideas in our pension bill are constitutional, fair for taxpayers, fair for voters. So far, Speaker Madigan has refused to call a vote on any one of our reform bills. He has never called a single vote on an actual piece of legislation we've introduced. He's held sham votes on pieces of our bills. That's not right. That's playing political games with the people of Illinois. He should call real votes on our reforms, on the actual bills that we've introduced. And if he continues to refuse to do that, what he ought to do then is go ahead and call for a tax hike, pass a tax hike. He's got a supermajority. He can do a tax hike. I won't support it without reforms, but he doesn't need me to. He can pass a tax hike if he wants to. The reality is, he called for a tax hike vote among his members because he knows it's unpopular, and he knows that many members of his caucus want reforms and support our reforms, but they're scared of the Speaker. They don't want to cross him. Just as President Cullerton's concerned about getting too far ahead of the Speaker, Mayor Emanuel's too far ahead. The power that the Speaker's got, very strong. He doesn't want to give it up, and he's ruling with an iron fist over the folks here in the General Assembly. It's wrong. We've got to have the government not run by Madigan and the Chicago machine, but run by and for the voters, by the people of the state. That's what's at stake here. This isn't about Democrats versus Republicans. There are many Democrats who want reforms. This is about the Chicago machine and Madigan's power versus the people of Illinois. That's what's on the line here. That's why we're going to stay strong. And we're asking members of the General Assembly, please, if you're going to take a pay hike, I think it's wrong, but if you're going to take one, earn it by meeting with us, and let's get this done. Let's resolve this budget problem. Let's get structural reform so we can grow our economy and get real value for taxpayers. Thanks. Any questions? Yes, sir.
You're here for another 3.5 years. Why the push for all 5 things at once instead of maybe going like 1 or 2 this year, another 2 or 3 next year, or even beyond that? Why the push for all 5 at once?
Well, 5 sounds like a large number. The legislature passed 530 bills this spring. Okay, so they can do with 5. And the reality is we put out our turnaround agenda, our complete turnaround agenda, right in the beginning of our administration. It had 44 points. Okay? We've got to turn our state around and transform it, 44 points. But we've got 4 years to do that. We'll just take it a step at a time. These are some of the most critical reforms. They're very straightforward, and they've got strong bipartisan support. These are good reforms. Speaker Madigan doesn't want to take them up because they get at his power, but that's part of what's got to change. Term limits, hugely popular in both political parties. Redistricting reform supported in both political parties. Property tax freeze with local control of cost of government, huge support in both political parties. These are bipartisan, they're very straightforward to do, and it's not too much to take up. We've got to do it right now.
Governor, last week Speaker Madigan said he's not confident that our budget, a larger deal would be worked out between you and the leaders. So does that mean that we're just stuck like this for the foreseeable future?
Well, the Speaker doesn't need me to do what he wants. He does have a supermajority, and he can override any veto that I put out. He could go ahead and put in a tax hike over my objections. He hasn't done it because many members in his caucus, they're afraid of him, they don't want to buck him, but they also know our reforms are good, and they don't want to support a tax hike without reform. So he's in a tough place, but I'm calling on him to actually drive result. Now here's one of my concerns. People ask me all the time, Governor, how long is this going to go on? You were just saying, is this foreseeable? I point to what happened in the 2015 budget negotiation. You know, when I first came into office, we had a $1.6 billion budget hole. And I went immediately to the legislative leaders and I said, we got to deal with this. We're going to run out of cash in the government. We very quickly came to a broad understanding of how we go about it and had some broad agreements. But then the Speaker went silent for weeks on it. And we didn't get an agreement implemented for 7 weeks. And the reality is the Speaker wanted pressure to build, wanted child care services to be cut and impacted, and pressure and folks to feel that before he would take action is sort of a cover for taking action. It's not how I would do it. I think it's wrong. I think the Speaker wants pressure, wants an impact now before he'll do the right thing. He knows what should happen. Many members of his caucus know we should compromise and work this out. But they want an impact. They want people hit by these lack of a budget before he'll take action. It's wrong. I don't agree with it, but that's his style, and we've just got to deal with it as best we can.
Governor, you ran on a message of transparency, and yet there's been an issue. I know for your public schedule, a lot was blacked out. The reader is contesting that with the Attorney General's office, and apparently said that you didn't want information to be disclosed. You didn't want even taxpayers to know in cases who state and taxpayers were paying for to meet with you for attorneys and such. Why is that? Why are you blocking so much from your public schedule?
Boy, I don't agree with your supposition. We put out our schedule and put up much more in there than is required under law and than most any other elected official does. We've been very very forthcoming about that. And also, my position on every issue is very clear. And we've got our 6 bills out there. We are advocating for these. We're clear about what we want to do on a budget. We're very clear and very straightforward about it.
Will you be willing to lift those redactions then?
We put out our schedule regularly. And it's very clear where I'm going, and we do much more than other elected officials and much more than is required by law.
You talked about these 6 bills on your turnaround agenda, but do you know if there is any progress on a compromised budget bills, or is Speaker Madigan just going to hold these hostage to rules?
We had, in the spring, when we had our task forces and our groups of legislators meeting to talk about reforms as well as the budget, we had folks meet about the budget spending levels. We had folks meet and discuss on a bipartisan basis tax reforms. There's been a lot of work done. And many of those issues are in a place where we could talk and work them through. The Speaker doesn't want to discuss any real reforms, and he doesn't really want to discuss taxes. He wants me to take actions and lead on a tax hike. He could drive that process. He could go out there and do a tax hike. He doesn't want to. He knows it's not the right thing. Many members of his caucus do. I'm stunned that he's in a place where passes us a $4 billion unbalanced budget, no reforms, and they have the gall to give themselves a pay hike.
What's the difference between a pay hike for legislators and increased salaries for members of your cabinet compared with your predecessor?
Well, there's a huge difference, okay? The legislature controls the budgeting process, the spending process. They've put in place their ability to get paid no matter what. The members of the General Assembly get paid even without a budget. They put themselves in a continuing appropriation. No one else in government has that. In fact, the Speaker and the Attorney General are fighting me on paying state employees. There's a huge difference in what's going on here. They made sure they get paid. They've made sure that nobody else can get paid. And then they've also, despite our budget trouble, they've made sure and forced through a pay increase. And they're part-time employees. They're part-time workers for the state. The other folks work full-time. Huge difference between the General Assembly and the other people in the state government.
And later this morning, the House Dems are going to be having a hearing on some salaries within your cabinet. Do you want to say anything about that process?
No, this is all a distraction to try to make people look bad or be embarrassed or whatever. I'm proud of our team. We've got the best team ever assembled to lead a state government and turn a state government around. They're super talented people. Some of them are very well paid. They've taken cuts from what they could get in the private sector, some of them major cuts from what they get in the private sector, but they're willing to serve. They're appropriately paid, and I'm proud of the team.
Governor, the Speaker has said numerous times that you coming out here and singling him out as the problem just isn't helpful to the overall process. So, I mean, why is he not again and keep making these same kind of arguments?
Well, I've got to focus where the problem is. I mean, the reality is if we're just our office working with President Cullerton or Mayor Emanuel or certain members of the General Assembly in both political parties, we would have this done. This would be done. And we could have and should have done this many weeks ago. The Speaker doesn't want to deal with it right now. And he wants the pressure to build. He wants folks impacted by the lack of a budget. I don't want that. I feel terrible that some social agencies are being impacted by this. The Speaker, he's not in the same place as me. They keep pushing these ideas of a one-month budget to fund essential services. It's baloney. It's spin for you guys in the media. It's spin for the people of Illinois. The social service agencies have already come out and made it clear they can't provide their services on a month-to-month basis. It doesn't work. They need long-term stability. So we're not actually even allowing them to provide their social services. This is a spin on the part of Speaker Madigan, and it's his attempt to get to an unbalanced budget 1 month at a time, which we just can't allow. I'm not going to support that. Yes, sir.
You've had several compliments to Senate President Cullerton and Mayor Emanuel. Has it become personal now between you and the Speaker? I mean, it's weird. I mean, if I were an outsider out of Washington, it almost seems like it's become a personal matter about the budget and the turnaround agenda as opposed to what's best. Has it become personal?
I don't feel that at all. I get along very well with the Speaker. Whenever we meet and talk, we have very good, candid conversation, very good communication, and I don't feel any personal animosity for him whatsoever. This is about getting a result. This is about turning the state around and changing the fundamental direction of the state. That's all this is.
Last question. Governor, if the Speaker won't work with you, what's to stop you or members of the General Assembly Republicans from introducing budget bills that you want, putting them up for a vote instead of continuing to go down this road of the Speaker's not letting me call my turnaround agenda?
Well, see, the budget in the end gets driven by the condition of the state. What we've got to get to is at the core issues that drive the budgeting process. We need folks in the General Assembly and in the government who are there for the right reasons and who are reflective of their constituency, not working for the Chicago machine. That impacts the budget process. We need a growing economy in order to have a good budget process and a good balanced budget. That's why our workers' comp and tort reform is so critical. And we've got to deal with property taxes in a very comprehensive way. That's our #1 tax problem. The folks in the General Assembly won't want to deal with those things if we just go right and talk only about the budget itself. Those issues can drive the process for the budget. If we actually get a handle on our property taxes, that will free up resources so we can do other tax reform and get a balanced budget. It's all integrated, and we've got to have reforms first as part of the budgeting process. Thanks very much, everybody. Appreciate it.